There, 10 down. Contact support for 1261.
What you're hearing is the inevitable sound of change happening to this frequency.
The Palin family home is just down the way over there. It's a pretty secluded spot in the woods along the lake. In fact, you'd be pretty hard-pressed to get a look at it unless you were in a boat or living right next door.
Well, Kelly's Court is back in session. On the docket today, Sarah Palin versus the ultimate nosy neighbor.
Former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin is making good on a threat to build a fence around her Wasilla home to keep her new neighbor from peering in.
She's offered to welcome him with some homemade blueberry pie, but that didn't stop the half-term governor of Alaska from accusing a reporter renting the house near the Palin compound in Wasilla of peering in.
Top kill efforts have failed in the massive BP oil spill, where now 2 more states have indicated that the sludgy material is creeping closer to their coasts. Turkey has shown that they may be an active contributor to the axis of evil. The entire rogue world is condemning Israel for defending themselves after issuing several warnings to a, quote, flotilla off of their coast. Somewhat of a, quote, peace flotilla, which now have been said to have contained firearms and other weapons when Israeli commandos were confronted with violence after being dropped on the ships via helicopter, again to defend themselves. After several warnings. Unemployment is still at 10%, no big deal. Iran has said to have had over 2 tons now of enriched uranium, making them capable of arming 2 high-grade guided nuclear bombs, weapons, or missiles, 1-ton bombs. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad calling the Israeli commandos wild dogs and now wants Netanyahu to stand trial for the events that transpired again as Israel defended themselves. The Japanese prime minister is saying he's going to resign over a U.S. military installation. Syria is conducting nuclear testing and experiments. Great. North Korea about to blow South Korea off the face of the map, and at the same time they are reporting that nuclear technology is to be exported to Iran, and other rogue governments out of North Korea. And where is the president? Where is he? You know, he told Turkey that he was going to be designating the full resources of the government to find the facts that surrounded Israel's actions. Why not just go to bat for them altogether? They are our greatest ally in the Middle East, and yet nothing from the president to suggest that Israel is going to have the full commitment of the United States and its military resources to ensure their safety against a tyrant ready to wipe them off the face of the map with a nuclear bomb that now he is capable of arming with enriched uranium. Rather than getting immediately to the Gulf and authorizing government resources to help clean up the BP huge oil leak, he pushes for civil penalties, criminal prosecution of those responsible. He's not going to tolerate blame and finger-pointing. And throughout his entire display, it's more blame, blame, blame. Blame Bush, blame Bush. White House dinners and Chicago trips for the holidays. Where the hell is the president? I know you see it. He's absolutely, folks, incapable of telling the truth. He cannot do it. Nobody in this administration is capable of telling the truth. And how does the media respond? Keith Olbermann spouting off his big fat mouth about Palin's stalking neighbor that picked a place not just in Alaska, not just in Wasilla, but 15 feet away from the Palin home. Do we have that clip? Where's that clip?
Glenn Beck joining in the fight, vowing to never mention Random House books ever again, asking the publisher to rein in its authors. Mrs. Palin calling into that radio program earlier to make him only the second dumbest person on the air, to tell listeners that while she found Mr. McGinnis's move disturbing, don't worry, she'll be fine.
Everybody has trials and tribulations. Everybody has a battle that they are fighting too. And we may want to tire. We may want to give up. We may want to retreat. And instead, like my dad says, don't retreat, reload instead.
Again with a freaking gun reference. Joining me
now. All right, stop it. You see what this is, don't you? This is a desperate attempt to throw dirt and mud at Sarah Palin and others who share the same conservative values that she does. The Tea Party movement. This guy's going to dig up dirt on Sarah Palin. You can see where this book is going already. I mean, we already know the editorial version of this book and what it's going to be. It's going to be a slam on her to completely try to, it's a attempt to discredit her going into 2010. You know, instead of applauding this guy for trying to dig up dirt on Sarah Palin, instead of applauding him, why doesn't the media ask, well, why aren't journalists sitting outside of the homes of people like Bill Ayers? Why aren't they sitting outside the homes of George Soros, moving in next to William Geithner or Eric Holder? How about the Clintons now involved with White House bribes for potential candidates? The homes of our president, supposedly, and where he went to school when he was growing up. How about Acorn? How about putting a journalist inside of MoveOn.org? How about a journalist moving in next door to Van Jones? How about Cass Sunstein? How about if a journalist moves in 15 feet of the front door of Elizabeth Birnbaum, who resigns in the middle of the night with Obama not even knowing about it, and then talking about her the next day as if she's still in charge of this BP oil spill, which is what she supposedly resigned as a result of? How about if we put a journalist outside of those people's homes and write books? What do you think the reaction from the left would be if somebody like Glenn Beck moved in next door to somebody like Cass Sunstein? Of course, that wouldn't happen. It's stalking. It's a travesty to journalism, and it's a blatant, bold-faced attempt to pull more wool over the eyes of Americans and tell more and more lies to try to gain more and more power for one single objective, and that's to get more and more power and government control, to expand the government and to take individual liberties away from you. The thought now of Barack Obama and his administration owning oil crossed my mind. I was thinking to myself, why would it be that the leftist media, the mainstream and drive-bys, why would it be that some of them are now defecting and challenging Obama and his policies? And especially as it relates to the way that he's handling, or the lack thereof, this BP oil quote crisis. Why would they be doing that? I can't overlook the thought, knowing how absolutely relentless and calculated the media is in reporting. There's always a motive. They're in bed with Obama and have been. You guys know this. I wonder if it may just be that the media and these leftist bloggers, along with the administration, need to make it look like they're failing in the cleanup efforts, so that at one point, what's going to happen? Well, criminal prosecution may be happening. Definitely lawsuits are going to be filed against BP. But could it be that if you set up enough failure, if you set up enough disaster, that banking and finance and the auto industry and entitlements and bailouts may not be enough? So we're going to go after healthcare. And when healthcare is not enough, we're going to go after financial reform. And now that we own and operate 60%, we control 60% of the economy, maybe that's not enough either. And so what do I have to do now to gain more control? Let's put ourselves in a position where if we can paint a picture pretty enough of the failure by private sector oil companies, the failure of the domestic machine, it's obvious that they need the government to supply them with the money, to supply them with the resources, and then to micromanage and control that sector of the economy as well. I don't know. It could just be a little over the top here, folks, but I don't know. Is it? I gotta go. I'm out of time. But more on this tomorrow, more on this daily, right here at We the People. My name is Stuart Peters, folks. Be proud to be Americans. We're going to get more into this tomorrow.
Because I'm angry.
I think that's when I'm going to fight.
Earn your right to vent.
Because I want some kind of justice out of it.
By exercising your right to vote.